Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi, Pia. Thanks for having me.
Been wanting to have you on this podcast because your specific space of expertise is just ever more relevant right now. So why don't you give us like a quick overview of how you ended up becoming who I consider the go-to expert in LinkedIn marketing?
Oh, that means a lot. And also, it's, I think, just about our 1 year anniversary since we met.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. Oh my gosh, time flies.
Yes, but to make a long story short, I got my start on Medium. So I was a blogger. So I come from the tech and product world. I took a sabbatical, started a blog in my sabbatical, had a lot of success on Medium, which used to be a really big platform. Like that was the go-to thought leadership place. Now I think Substack has taken it over. But friends of mine were like, Molly, your writing is so interesting. You should really put that on LinkedIn. So I started transferring content onto there and trying to, was working to try and figure out the platform. And
What
it
year was
really,
that?
end of 2020, 2021.
Okay.
So it was 5 years ago now. And it really worked. I would say LinkedIn is really great for people that love to write, that are long form thinkers, deep thinkers. They train, they teach, they have just more nuanced topics that you really can create the space for on LinkedIn. So it just really worked for my style of communicating and sharing knowledge. And so it worked really immediately. And I was like, wow, I'm going to figure this out. So I just double, tripled down. And yeah, within the next few years, I just carved out thought leadership in that space, in the LinkedIn space.
Love it. Love when people do it over time, continuing to hone their craft, and that's how they become seen as the expert. It's old school, and how it still works.
Totally. And people ask all the time, and I'm like, I've just done this a while. Like, I've done this a while. I've seen it go through many iterations, many trends. So, yeah, if you stick with something, you eventually get good at it.
Absolutely. Well, one thing that I remember when we were first introduced, and then I actually hired you to help me and teach me all of this so that I could then bring you in to teach our community and our students, which was so wonderful of you.
Yeah.
One of the things that first just really flipped my mindset was that you said content on LinkedIn, I'm going to paraphrase this, it needs to be delivered differently. People are on there having a different experience. They're expecting something different. They interact with it different. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Why the content has to be different from how you post maybe on Facebook or Instagram or a blog?
Totally. It's such a misconception or blind spot. People create content for their business and think you can just literally copy paste. But LinkedIn is a really unique place. I would say it's completely on its own in terms of social media. It's very nerdy, it's very intellectual, it's very growth minded. At its core, it's a job seeking platform. Like that's why it was created, for people to get a new job, to make connections to people that could refer them to a job. So it's very professional, it's very corporate. Like that's the environment that you're existing inside of. So you really want to keep that in mind. And in my best advice is always lead with value. Like you really want to isolate what you're good at, what you can teach, and lead with like a value-driven thought leadership strategy. So you would break something down really technically on LinkedIn that you might just kind of reference on Instagram or show or be more visual on a platform like Instagram. LinkedIn, you want to get really technical. You want to get really data and very analytical and lead with, how it's going to help someone either grow their business, improve their career, etc.
You actually just mentioned grow your business. When I think of LinkedIn and I think of it being very corporate or a place to find jobs, I don't necessarily think of it as small businesses. And yet it's kind of a perfect place for small businesses to develop their expertise and find clients. What kind of small business, what kind of audience do they need to have to do well on LinkedIn, and maybe who wouldn't do as well on LinkedIn because their audience really isn't there?
It's a great question. Yes, I would say any professional service does fantastic. So consultants, coaches, agencies, niche experts. If your client is a corporate professional, oh my gosh, you'll do fantastic. So executive coaches do great. Any sort of coach serving someone still employed also does great. I would say I never recommend LinkedIn for like very product businesses or lifestyle brands. Like a wine company came to me recently and I was like, you're not going to sell bottles of wine on LinkedIn, or you're not going to sell beauty products on LinkedIn. But if you're a founder of a e-commerce company or a beauty company, you could use it for strategic partnerships and more so the brand awareness. But you're like, no one's on LinkedIn to buy a makeup bottle. They're on LinkedIn to, hire a sales and retention specialist or hire a consultant or a coach. So I think it's important to really just ask yourself, is this the best place for my business?
Ooh, and you reminded me, you did some really great work with me on my profile and really
Oh, yes.
beefing it up. And something that I loved that I have repeated to people is just the reminder that that first part of the sentence of describing, what is that, the bio, like the headline of who you are, you don't even see the whole sentence when you're commenting, when you're posting. So those first few words need to be so good. Can you tell us a little bit more? Give us some advice on that piece of it, because I feel like most people get that wrong.
Yeah, no, it's at its core, it's messaging work. So what we call ourselves and what other people might call ourselves might be different, but LinkedIn is so fantastic for SEO search and also AI search. So especially the LLMs, they're using platforms like LinkedIn to verify the content on your website. So you want everything to match. So on LinkedIn, that very first like 4 or 5 words in your headline, you want it to be your title, because that's what people are going to search: leadership development coach or leadership development consultant. You want to have that first, and you also want that to show up when you leave comments. But what you call yourself and what other people call you or refer to you might be really different. So it's messaging work and like interviewing clients or talking to them, because I don't consider myself a coach, but my clients call me a coach. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, I'm a strategist and a coach, so we'll go with that.
Well, okay, so talk to me a little bit more about that, because obviously I have a branding perspective, always wanting to put yourself in a category of one and stand out and be different. But there's a time and place for that. And, a lot of times, sometimes I think people are making a mistake. I'd be very curious to know your thoughts when they kind of lead with benefits, but actually it's like, well, maybe you want to have the benefits, but it has to be after the title that might feel more generic, but is what people are searching. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Totally. Yeah. I never want to box anyone in or stifle anyone's self-expression, but especially for AI and especially for SEO, you actually do have to be really clear. Like, literally, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And so a lot of times I see people, like you said, being really clever, being really cute and describing themselves. And it's not, LinkedIn's not the place for that. It's just not. I'm sorry, I'm going to be direct there.
Good. Yeah.
And you can certainly test it. I think test something for a month or two and just see if people are like, oh yeah, you came up, or you came up in chat, or you came up, your profile spoke to exactly what I need help with. So LinkedIn is not the place to be clever. You actually want to be really clear about what you're doing.
So listen to that, guys. You're everywhere else. We're really trying to stand out and say something different and interesting. And I'm not saying don't be interesting and clever, but not in those first few words of your bio.
Yes, it matters a lot.
It matters a lot. Yeah, I love that. Tell me a little bit about, I think the profile, I look at so many people's profiles and there's not much going on. There's no image on the top. You're like, does this person even sign into LinkedIn? Can you give us a couple of like high level pieces of advice of how somebody could, right now while they're listening to this, just go on their LinkedIn and just zhuzh it up at least a little bit?
Totally. Well, I just tell people, pretend that you're an ideal client and you land on your profile. Is it hard to get in touch with you? Is it hard to know what you do? Is it written? A lot of times people write the profile all about themselves, which is certainly a strategy if you are trying to get paid speaking. But if you're trying to attract people that want to hire you, or you have higher end services, you really do need to keep them in mind. So at the very least, go on your own profile and say, is it clear what I'm doing? If I'm my ideal client, do I feel heard? Do I feel seen? Is it easy to get in touch with me? If I have to click 7 different things, what's going to happen is LinkedIn actually has a little bar on the side that says other profiles like this. So they're actually feeding your client your competitors. And so if you're not clear, they're just going to be fed other people that are clear and just click on a different profile. So certainly it's not the most fun exercise, but really actually putting some intention in. Typically in my work, that's the heaviest lift. It's rebuilding the profile, getting it in good shape, but then you don't have to touch it for 6, 7, 8 months. Mm-hmm. And also having people visit it and give you feedback too.
Absolutely. And on the flip side, if you're clear, they might be serving you up when someone's looking at your competitors.
Totally.
Big benefit there.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you find, because I always tell people, especially if you're a very small business, if it comes to content marketing, focus is your friend, right? Don't try to do all the things. Don't half-ass all the things, whole-ass one thing. And LinkedIn seems like one of those things that you could whole-ass and do really well. So speak a little bit, if you could, to like what, because this was also fascinating when you shared this with our community, what do you think it looks like to show up consistently on LinkedIn to be effective? Do we need to be signing in and posting things every day? Like, what's a general cadence that you would recommend?
Yeah. Whoever the gurus are that are saying you need to be on there every day, I really have a bone to pick with them because I don't think you need to be on LinkedIn every day. Actually, this is a fun fact. I don't know if I shared this with the group, but the standard to be a LinkedIn top voice, because they have criteria to give you that special badge where LinkedIn deems you a top voice on the platform. I don't know if I shared this. You only have to post once a month. As long as you're posting once a month, you can qualify. So to me, what I make that mean is that LinkedIn really values quality, true expertise and thought leadership content. They don't want you posting every single day that's just noise or AI slop. Like, they want you to really spend a lot of time every month crafting one good post and then you qualify. So I think it's a quality versus quantity platform. So if you're just putting things up there to be online every day, I think it's worth revisiting that strategy. 2 to 3 times a week is fantastic. Like, if you take one of your posts and you really go in deep and you spend a lot of time creating some value, and then the other post is maybe a story or a client result, that's great. If you want to post 3 times a week, maybe it's 2 values, a story, and a social proof client result. But I don't think you should be on there every single day. I think you should be really intentional with what you're posting.
Music to all of our ears, right? Like, the last thing we want to be doing is just creating tons of stuff and spending so much time. And also, I feel like that's so nice to hear, because I think we need to go back to the place where we're putting really thoughtful, intentional time and effort into fewer, more valuable things, as opposed to, I feel like for a while there, it was a little bit more about, quantity, which is,
Yeah.
really lowering the bar.
And I want to say one more thing. I think the reason that happened is because I used to create on Instagram, and on Instagram things don't last long. Like, you put something out and you have to create something new, otherwise it dies. LinkedIn is really different. Posts last for like 2 to 3 weeks. Like, truly, if you put a post up, the real measure of its success isn't until 2 to 3 weeks later. Like, sometimes I don't even see content until 3 weeks after it's been posted. So it lasts a really long time. Therefore, you don't need to create something new immediately. And that's very different from Instagram and TikTok. TikTok, you need to post like 3 times a day. It's a really short shelf life because they're selling low ticket things. So you need to constantly play to people's impulses and create new things for them to just buy lower ticket things. But LinkedIn is really thoughtful and really built towards higher trust, higher ticket, deeper relationship building. So by definition, you don't need to constantly be doing things, in my opinion.
Well, that just really plays well with, I think, the kind of people that listen to this podcast, which are people who value kind of deeper thought and not just AI created slop. By the way, like, basically everything I'm asking of you is like the very valuable and important, but like superficial piece of the LinkedIn, because really it comes down to how are you communicating and what are those posts? And part of the reason that I hired you and part of the reason I wanted to bring you in is because ultimately you can do all of these things, but if your content itself isn't speaking to your audience in a particular way with not just that value, but using certain kinds of language and the hook especially, it's really not going to do well. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because I think you could hear everything you have to say and still your posts could suck.
Yeah. Oh man, this one's big. Sometimes and listen, I've been here too. Like, I didn't magically become good at writing. I created a lot of bad stuff in the beginning. I think we blame the algorithm, we blame social media. They're like, it's out to get me. And it's like, you know what? Your content's actually not that good. And you're not that exceptional at communicating what you do. And that's really direct. But I think we have to be honest with ourselves of, is this clear? Is this valuable? Am I actually putting something out there that's solving a problem? And so my best antidote to that is you have to have really good inputs. Like, you have to be talking to people. You have to be really listening for the things that you're doing in your own business and being willing to create that into something and teach it for an audience. And so when we have good inputs, then we can create valuable pieces of content. But I think as a generalization, we often either don't know our people as well as we think we do, or we're not putting the work in and the time into figuring that out and then meeting people where they're at before they're ready to hire you. And so I think in 2025, you have to be good at what you do, and you have to be good at communicating what you do. And I think that's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, because AI is it can do a lot of things. So you have to be extra better at what you do to differentiate.
Yeah, we have to be kind of vigilant about looking at what it is creating and being critical about whether or not it's actually good, or it just kind of sounds good and you're being, brain lazy to not say, actually, that's not very interesting, or that's not actually
Right,
helpful.
right. And we have to let go of our preference. Like, what's interesting to me is not always what's interesting to my clients. Like, the most, honestly, sometimes basic, mundane, boring things to me are wildly revolutionary for my clients. And so you can't have ego about your own content. You really have to, your content's also not for you. It's like, my content's not interesting for me, but it meets people where they're at before they bring me in.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. That is like the most frustrating part of business to me. I'm like, I am on to the next. I've got things I'm thinking about. I want to be talking about that. But it's like, but that's not meeting people where they are at. Yeah. And by the way, like, a lot of this part of the conversation is true for marketing in general, right? Like,
Totally.
you got to know how your audience is thinking and how they're going to feel seen, and speaking to them in the language that they need to hear in order to connect with you, and all of that. It's true for LinkedIn, and it's true for everywhere else. But what I think is really important here for our listeners to take away is that it is a different kind of content. There's a different way that they are interacting with it. Oh gosh, I love, and you don't need to do it that much.
Yeah.
Well, how do you, when you say also test, like, so let me just tell you something that happened to me once. I posted something with a photo, and it was a controversial thing.
I remember this
post.
post.
Photo was controversial. Yeah. So the photo was controversial. And I was like, oh, this is going to kill. And then I went back in 2 hours later, and it had 75 reach. I was like, oh, what? And so I took it down and I reposted it with a different photo that wasn't as risque. And sure enough, it's probably my most viewed post ever. And so I have to assume that it was that the photo was not appropriate, and then the more appropriate photo made more sense on LinkedIn or something. But I don't know, that's just my guess, because all else being the same, that's what happened. When you think about testing, I could have posted that and then not thought to repost it with the photo. It just happened to be such an extreme photo that I was like, oh, maybe LinkedIn doesn't like this because it's risque. But when you test, how do you test, I guess, is my question.
Totally. Well, it's a really humbling experience, to be honest. I've had that experience too, where I'll post something and I'm like, you know what? I think this should have done better. I'm going to rework this. And a lot of times it's the hook. We've talked about this at length. A lot of times it's really just the hook, getting people's attention faster. But I think all of it should be considered an experiment. We can have the best hypotheses, but putting something out, and then I think it's really important if something does well, looking at, okay, why did this do well? If something doesn't do well, okay, is it too complex? Is this hard to take in as an everyday person? Is the intro just not interesting? Is this just not interesting? Is this too advanced? A lot of times that we want to teach really complex things, but without the right context, I think it's hard. But also, you're totally right on photos. So I've posted the same text post twice, and I used 2 different photos. And one photo is just really warm, approachable, lovely. It's a professional photo shoot. The background is really nice. I was traveling in Bali. So that did really well. And then I reposted the same content with more of a power pose, professional, New York City vibe, and it didn't do as well. And I was like, oh, I think I'm warmer and just, I don't want to say kinder, but I just look more approachable in the first photo. And I think that really did make a difference, because the first one did way better versus the intimidating, I don't know what to make of that. But I do think when you get the photo totally right and the content is good, it's a good combo on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Right. So understand that there's quite a few variables, and that's part of the testing. And I like what you said. It's always think of it as, what did you call it? It's a testing ground, so that you're not an experiment. Yes. So you're not so married to, oh, I'm so guilty of that. If I put a lot of energy into something, I'm like so angry when it doesn't get the love that it deserves. I'm like, this is so good. But so brilliant. But to your point, like some of the simplest stuff actually does better.
Totally. And you really have to have a long-term, long-game mindset on LinkedIn because statistically, not every post is going to do well, but you have to keep going. Like when I think back to my blogging career, there were so many blogs that never saw the light of day. Literally no one read it. Like 2 people visited on my website, but it was like 7 months in of just trying, posting into the void that one of them went really viral. And that's like what took off my blog career. So I had to keep going for a long time. And that's kind of short, honestly. 6, 7 months, that's not terrible. Oh. So I think we have this expectation that we're going to get it perfect or like that we're owed anything. And it's like, no, you have to put in effort. You have to try, you have to do the work, and you have to be willing to figure it out. And some people, it's a mindset to have.
Well, what you just summarized is also the mindset and trajectory, I think, of all marketing, right? It's like marketing will always take longer than you wish it did to hit, and it requires pushing past that part where you're like, aren't I owed some more results by now? But also all of those articles that didn't see the light of day, they had so much value for you because that's how you learned how to write the great content that you write today. I mean, I feel like we don't give enough, pay enough homage to that, the stuff on the cutting room floor and how much it has taught us.
Yeah, totally. I like that.
Can you tell us a little bit about, because I know everyone is wondering, do I or do I not link to something outside of LinkedIn in my post? Do I or do I not put a call to action to contact me or DM me? Or do I have the same one in every post? What are your thoughts and feelings on the whole CTA thing?
Yeah, I have a lot I can say on this. LinkedIn very recently changed, so you can put links right in the post, and they will even tell you how many people click the link in your post, which is so cool. That's brand new in the last 2 to 3 months. Nice. And it's so fascinating because you can see who clicked your link and then who clicked your profile and who clicked the button on your profile. So it's like, wow, they clicked the link and they clicked around my profile. So to be honest, I have to dig deeper into that because it's so new and I want to just look at all the links in my posts. So that you can do now. They used to punish you if you were taking people off LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a product business. They're trying to sell you stuff. The sales signature, so those little end of post, I'm Molly Godfrey and I do this for this. Ring the bell if you want this. Read my article. People standardize it and they put that at the end of every post. And I tested this because I used to be a ghostwriter at one point. And so one of my clients, that was becoming a thing. And I was like, oh, let's add that to your post. Let's use the little emojis. It killed her reach. I'm talking killed her reach. She was so thrilled up until then. And I was like, wow, it's this. People don't like it. They're seeing that. And now they just expect they're going to be sold something at the end of every post. So I was like, we got to take this out. This is not good. This is really harming reach. So I stopped it, and now whenever people ask me, I tell them that story. So I had a friend, she was like, my stuff isn't gonna reach. I was like, take out the sales signature, just test it and just see if that improves. So I don't recommend that, but I do recommend, if you're posting 3 times a week, one of the 3 posts, totally, invite people to your work, inform them what your services are and tell them to reach out. You can put a link now, because you're not punished. You can put a link to your calendar, or you can tell people go to the featured section of my profile. But I do recommend once a week doing a call to action, but don't do the sales signature. At least test for yourself without and with, because I've seen bad stuff with it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to hear that. And you can see, that is brilliant.
I know.
Good for them. I mean,
because I think they're doing a lot more sponsored stuff. They're doing a lot more ad stuff. So I think they want to be able to track for their own purposes too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, Molly, any parting words of wisdom? I mean, you've just dropped so many words of wisdom, but is there anything else we didn't cover that you're like, everybody needs to know this, or everyone needs to stop doing this? This is such a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. 2 things. One is LinkedIn takes time. Like I said, the lead quality in my experience is so much higher than a Google ad or any sort of ad. So you really have to work for it. If you want that better of spend and that better of profile, you do just need to put in the effort. So it takes time. I don't think you can assess any sort of metric until you've really gone at it for 6 to 9 months. Before that, You just don't have enough data. And then the other thing I'll say is there's no one lever that makes the biggest difference. It's not just content. You're not just going to post content and suddenly be booked out. You're not going to just leave comments and suddenly be booked out. And you're not going to just send DMs and be proactively reaching out to people. You have to do all of them in tandem. So the algorithm is a social graph algorithm. So who you know and who's talking about you and who's connected to you is what actually gets your content reach. So it's relationship driven. You want to be social. You want to be collaborative. And again, it's not just one thing you're going to do. If you are holistically doing them all in tandem, that's what makes it effective. And you got to kind of learn the strategy for each of those things.
And actually, the woman who introduced us, Caitlin, Caitlin Lang, she did incredibly well with our business model in our program, and she worked with you and then introduced us, and that's how I know you, is also a great example of she just went all in on LinkedIn. I think that's the only marketing she does, but she really stuck with it. She really honed her message and how she creates content, and I know that all of her clients, I'm pretty sure all of her clients come from it now. But she stuck with it, and she really, tested and got really good at it. So just as one of many, many stories, I know. Tell me a little bit about, actually, sorry, I'm going backwards. I have another question. You mentioned commenting.
Yeah.
What's with the commenting?
Yeah, so LinkedIn really likes when conversations are happening on their platform. Because think about it, like we love a good thread where there's like juicy stuff happening in the replies. So LinkedIn wants and encourages like subcultures within posts to emerge and like conversations to happen. So the more that you're either instigating conversations by adding a comment or replying to a comment, you're feeding their algorithm of getting people staying on there. So commenting is definitely at least 1/3 of the picture. So jumping into other people's content and adding your perspective, asking a question, celebrating someone, like literally just, it's like a mini, I don't know, it's like a mini addition that you're making to the post by, again, just adding some sort of perspective. So a lot of people overthink it. They're like, can I just leave a comment? I'm like, yes, literally read the post and be like, wow, this was so interesting. I hadn't considered this. Or I really love this line. That resonates for me. Like whatever you want to say. But I can't tell you how many clients, someone just recently in my community posted yesterday that they got a new lead from a comment they left on someone they usually don't comment on. So leaving comments, and that's happened to me many times. People find you through comments because again, when you comment, it gets announced to people's feeds. So it's very visible activity. So I recommend 15 to 20 minutes a couple times a week after you post something, stay on, leave some comments onto people in your network or relationships you're trying to nurture. Don't spend all day doing it. Like you don't need to do hours and hours of it, but like 15 to 20 minutes. Think of it like going to an event. You're showing up to an event and you're just chit-chatting with a bunch of people on the platform, if that helps.
Oh, that's a great piece of advice. And are you saying, I mean, obviously commenting is making you more visible to people, but am I wrong? Are you saying like LinkedIn is also going to kind of give you cred for doing that, and your posts maybe cred?
Yeah. You'll want to test this for yourself, but typically if I'm more active, I'm just out and about, and so people are finding my profile and now they're reading my comments. But how to know if your post is really going to get traction is if a bunch of people immediately jump in and leave a comment. So you can kind of hack that. You can ask a good question. If the content is good or polarizing or, has something strong that people can react to and you get a bunch of comments immediately, LinkedIn says, ooh, this is going to keep people looking at the comments and this is valuable. People like this. They're going to give it more reach. So you want to get people commenting as quickly as possible on your posts. And then if people are having like all the viral posts you'll see, there's like tons and tons of conversations happening within a comment section. That's what LinkedIn really likes. So good karma is if your friends are posting, go into their comment section and reply to some of the comments because that will boost it that much more for them.
Yes. Good karma on LinkedIn. Do it, guys. Okay, 2 things. One goes without saying, go follow Molly on LinkedIn. I mean, when I need some inspiration, I just go see what Molly's posting. It gives me a good idea, something I might want to write. And also, you have something called the Impressions LinkedIn Writing Membership. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, kind of a lot to what we spoke about. There's so many things that go into LinkedIn, and I find that people don't know or have all the strategies or just have friends. So I created a LinkedIn-specific membership, a lot of writing support, a lot of content support, a way to meet these people that you can build strategic relationships with. So it's been a lot of fun. We're in month 2 now, but it's like your all-in-one LinkedIn resource to ask questions, to troubleshoot, to know what other people are doing. People are testing, people are trying things out. So It's a lot of fun. Doors will open again in January, but if you're looking for a LinkedIn specific resource, it's a good place to hang out.
Okay, amazing. I'm sure everyone is going to run to check that out right now, Molly. Thank you so much for coming on,
Thank you for
sharing
having
so
me.
much. You are so generous with your experience and expertise, and I know you've just helped so many people through your content and through everything that you share. So I hope everyone goes and checks out your Impressions membership.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a fun combo.
Well done.